Hi, and welcome back. The next company presenting today is Nanexa, a Swedish biotech company developing long-acting injectables. And with us, we have here today the CEO, David Westberg. David, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, yes, I will present to you an update of Nanexa. And I'm David Westberg, the CEO of Nanexa. And for those of you who don't know me since way back, I've been the CEO of Nanexa since 2015 and have a former experience from Pharmacia Upjohn, Orexo, and other companies. So Nanexa, yes, we're a company that have a proprietary drug delivery technology based on a process that's called atomic layer deposition, and we are using that technology to build long-acting injectable products, and I will come to that in more detail. And the drug delivery system is what we call PharmaShell. And the environment we're working in or towards is, of course, the pharmaceutical market, worldwide market, and especially the US market and the European market. And normally talk about the 7 big markets, which is US, the 5 biggest in Europe, and Japan. And looking at those markets, we see an aging population, and this picture shows that in numbers. And that's, of course, an aging population. It demands more treatments, more effective treatments to actually have the possibility to, within a frame of budgets and so on, actually be able to treat all the indications that occur, or all the indications that occur when people get older. And of course, if you have a chronic indication and you need to treat yourself every day, that's cumbersome. Also, if you're young, but even more so if you're older. And then, of course, a long-acting injectable in any kind would help a lot. Being convenient, and by that increasing the compliance of the treatment. And that is, of course, essential to actually get a treatment. So it's important for the patients, and also for the patient or relatives for the patients that are more or less taking care of them. So that is one part of it. The healthcare system is another part that would benefit a lot from long-acting injectables. Of course, you would need fewer visits to hospitals and so on for treatment, and having a better compliance to treatment gives a better efficacy and so on, so people don't get worse, so to say. Payers are another important player here, and of course the insurance companies in US in particular are interested in having effective treatment, and having a long-acting such would, of course, benefit the insurance companies as well. And last but not least, the sustainability. Of course, having a fewer injections and so on will not only reduce the risk of mishandling of medications, but also have an environmental positive effect. So this is a picture showing what we're doing. Actually, we're building an extremely thin shell of an inorganic oxide on top of API particles. And that oxide itself has a very low solubility, and that is actually what controls the release of what's inside of it. And normally we work with particles that are in the size of 5 microns, and coating them, each of them actually, with this shell, and then making a suspension out of it that is then later administered subcutaneously or locally at the tissue that needs treatment. And what you then get is an even and nice release of the active substance during a certain time period that we decide already in the beginning, whether it should be a 1-week depot or a 1-month depot or a 3-month depot or so. That is something that we can elaborate with, choosing different composition of the shell material or different thicknesses of the shell material. And doing that, we can get a plasma profile shown in the picture below the particle, where we have a release profile like the blue line there within the therapeutic window of that specific treatment. Some of the general advantages of PharmaShell is that we add extremely little material to the API, and we have a very high drug load of maybe 80 to 90% actually. We also have a possibility to control the initial release, which is extremely important if you have long depots. We also have a possibility to actually coat not just small molecules, APIs. We also can coat biologics such as peptides and proteins. And we have some interesting data both on peptides and actually monoclonal antibodies, which is a really growing market. And I will come to one of our projects, the Next 22 project, later on in this presentation. Well, our revenue model. Our main target is actually to take our projects that we fund ourselves to a clinical proof of concept, and after that out-license to a bigger company that will take it through the last clinical study and registration and then marketing. However, we have the door open for actually taking a product ourselves to the market if, and that is a big if that shows to be cash positive, so to say. It costs a lot to launch a product in the US, but it has a big advantage after, of course, it has been launched. But that's something that we will take into consideration later on in the project developments. So that is our own projects. Then we, of course, also work with partner projects where the big companies of the world come to us with ideas of product long-acting injectables with their APIs. And there we have another business model to out-license the technology as such to such companies. And there we have one example of that is the collaboration we have with Novo Nordisk that I will come to later on. And already on this picture I see. So actually we're very happy about this collaboration. Novo Nordisk is, as you know, the third largest pharma company in the world actually, and it is growing extremely fast, very much in the field of diabetes. And the GLP-1 analogs that we're working with in our Next 22 project is one product that Novo Nordisk actually has that has gone and will go off patent very soon. And that's liraglutide. In the collaboration with Novo Nordisk, we work with another of their compounds that they don't want us to reveal exactly what that is, but it is one of their major products, one can say. And they wanted to have an exclusivity for doing an evaluation of our technology, so they have that for a certain amount of time or a certain amount of activities that should be performed in the preclinical phase, I should say. And for that, they paid $4 million for that exclusivity. They added on about $500,000 for the actual work that we're doing. And in the same run, they actually also invested in Nanexa with $2 million. So they are actually now the largest shareholder of Nanexa. And they have also promised to, if we want to raise more money during this year, they will take their pro rata part of such an funding if that will be needed. So we're very happy about this project, and the project runs really smoothly, I should say. And it's a joy actually to work together with people that are so good at what they're doing, as they are in Novo Nordisk. So the other two projects that we have is Next 20 and Next 18, both of them in hematological oncology. Next 20 for long-acting lenalidomide. Lenalidomide. And Next 18, a long-acting azacitidine. And I will come to those later. But clearly, these three projects, and with a main focus maybe on the Next 22, we have well over $1 billion in sales when these are launched, all of them. And I could say for the Next 22 itself, it will most probably be much more than $1 billion if that is launched, according to what we say now. But looking at a little bit about next 22 and what we want to achieve there, we know that there is the adherence to treatment in the type 2 diabetes among the type 2 diabetes patients is very low, less than 50% actually. So coming with a convenient solution or convenient product where they just have to administer the product once monthly will be a very big step towards actually increasing the adherence and of course increasing the convenience for all the patients. And that is something also that Novo Nordisk and other very big pharma companies that are working in this field have identified clearly. So maybe I shouldn't say so much more about that right now. More than that, the market is of course huge. There's a big need. I already said so. And the market will grow to $90 billion for type 2 diabetes in 2029. $90 billion, that's quite a high number. And the GLP-1 part of those 90 is about a third of that. So that's a substantial amount of money into this market. And we believe that next 22 will be able to address quite a big portion of that than $30 billion market. This is another picture showing exactly what I just mentioned. There are about 50 million patients today diagnosed with this illness. $50 billion market for the type 2 diabetes and $15 billion for the GLP-1 this year, and it's growing about 10% each year. Looking then at our project, this next 22 project that we run ourselves, we have, and I press released that earlier this year, we have already started the preclinical evaluation in animals. So we have tested our first formulation of Next 22 with PharmaShell, and in that study we saw that we had a 28-day plasma profile of liraglutide, which is exactly what we wanted to show in this study. So that's really encouraging going forward. And what I can say is that we are now into our second animal study with some new formulations where we have tweaked the shell composition a bit just to get it more tuned into the exact TPP that we're aiming for, and we're aiming for a 1-month depot. And with as low burst as possible, so that's important, and we have the means of doing that. One should also mention that we have we are also in the preparation of the clinical trial and actually have close contact with a CRO in Germany where we're gonna engage for that study most probably. These results that we have in the Next 22 project, I should also mention, is very important for the Novo Nordisk collaboration. Their compound is quite similar to what we're working with in this project. So whatever we learn from the tests we're doing in this project will be applicable also in the Novo Nordisk case. So that is good to know. I think it's an important field for us. The Next 20 is the lenalidomide treatment or product for multiple myeloma. And actually here we are also looking at adherence to treatment and increase that or improve that, I should say. Also here in this severe illness, there is actually about 30 to 40% of the patients not keeping or adhering to the treatment as they should. So they don't take the capsules that they should every day. So what we're aiming at here is also one monthly depot of lenalidomide. And in this project, you know, we have a clinical study ongoing. It's going well, this study, and we anticipate to have the last patients completed this first half in June, I should say, actually. So the results will be a little bit later, I think. But in June we will have the actual study completed. Sorry, I just need to put this on. Sorry. So this is also a very important project for us. I should mention in all our projects we have advisory boards with key opinion leaders from all over the world, I should say, and they are really key opinion leaders, I should mention, and that's really good. For us being a very small company, this is important. And one thing that I need to mention regarding the Next 20 is that we participated in the ASH conference last year, where we got in contact with a patient group that's called International Myeloma Foundation. And they actually, when hearing what we try to do with this lenalidomide project, they invited us to their yearly meeting in Switzerland, I should say, together with, you see what other companies are there. So it was, of course, a very good possibility for us to start discussions about our project and the potential upside with a once monthly injection. Next 18 is an improvement of the azacitidine product that's called Vidasa, where today the patients needs to come in and take an administration or a syringe 7 days in a week, and then they have a resting period for 3 weeks and then another treatment week. We want to exchange those 7 with just 1 injection the first day. And we are also in this, not only a convenience part in this project, there's also actually a possibility that we will get better efficacy having a long-acting release rather than the spikes that the 7 injections cause. So this is something that we're looking into right now, and we're in contact with several labs and so on that will so that we are able to actually look at this possibility in preclinical studies. To help us with everything, to be able to perform clinical studies and so on, and to upscale, we have built a pilot facility in Uppsala, a state-of-art pilot facility for GMP manufacturing. And this facility is about 300 square meters. We have a possibility here to introduce manufacturing tools that are developed by Applied Materials, which Applied Materials is a huge company, very much working in the semiconductor industry, but they are world's largest company working with the ALD processing. And we have a collaboration with them, and they are about to install their developed tools into our facility here, and that's very good. Patents is, of course, something that is extremely important for a company like ours. And this picture just shows that we have a lot of patents. We have patents approved, we have patents pending, patent applications pending. What we're aiming for here is to see to that we have multiple possibilities of out-licensing to several companies for several indications, for several APIs and so on. And we also have a strategy to really see to that the patents that we get are listed in the so-called Orange Book in the US, which protects from, which is a book listing all the patents that are for marketed products, so to say. The team that works in Nanexa are extremely experienced, I should say, for a company of this size. We have multiple persons that have been in the pharma industry, in big pharma and smaller pharma for plus 25 or plus 30 years. Both in the clinical development, in development market analysis, BD and so on, regulatory, not to mention the least. So it's a team that knows how to take products from ID to the market. And we have done that several times, most of us. Also, the board of directors I think is interesting to learn that we have Göran Nando as the chairman of the board, and he was of course the chairman of Novo Nordisk for I think 8 years. So he knows the diabetes market quite well, I should say, and the GLP-1s and extremely well, I should say. And we have other persons in the board of directors that are very, very experienced in pharma development as well. A summary of this: we have a unique technology that is directed towards solving a lot of medical needs out there. We have a huge market potential. The Novo Nordisk agreement is something that we really are looking forward to, and this is the thank you picture. And I see that you are coming here to ask me some questions, I think.
Exactly. Thank you, David, for the presentation. Very nice. Now we have a few minutes for some questions. I think that the first one that people want to hear is about your collaboration, of course, with Novo Nordisk. I mean, it was a really good way of finishing 2022.
Yeah.
And now have passed like 5 months since then. And I was wondering if you could give us some color on how is this collaboration working in the day-to-day? How good is your communication with Novo? I mean, how happy you are and how happy they are?
Well, I think we are both very happy. We are extremely happy about working with this very skilled team, I should say. And they have set up a complete project team at Novo Nordisk with all the different skills that is needed in a real drug product development project. So we have the best of the best, I should say, to work with. So that is good, and we have, if you say on a day-to-day basis, we have maybe not weekly meetings with them, but bi-weekly meetings. We have updates on. They have transferred their analytical methods to us and also material, of course, and we have started to coat their material. And we're aiming for getting them to start their preclinical studies a little bit later this year, and that will be very exciting. In the development agreement, they will do a number of preclinical studies, but it is limited to preclinical studies. And then they have a possibility to take a license on this class of substances for their use.
That's very interesting. It sounds very promising. And a second question, and also connects with this one, is about your next 22 project. I mean, obviously the synergies with Novo are big there. And I was wondering how much interest has Novo showed, or like if you could give us some broad view on that, on this project, and how, I mean, is there any chance that Novo could hypothetically take over this project and push the development forward at some point?
Firstly, I could say when it comes to the development phase that we are in right now, the results, like I mentioned, the results that we get in the next 22 project are very important also for the Novo project. The shell material, the shell composition that we see works for the next 22 would most probably also work for their product. Mm-hmm. And so there we get sort of a sort of kickstart sort of for their development. If they would be interested in taking on the next 22 project, potentially yes, I think they are, and they have a possibility to take that as well. We also during this evaluation agreement have possibilities to take on discussions with other companies for that specific project. But clearly there is of course an advantage to work with Novo in both.
Great. Thank you very much. And next question is on the that I could make is regarding your other projects, that is not 18, 20, and 22. During the last 2 years, you have signed several evaluation agreements with external companies, undisclosed so far. I was wondering if you could give us some color there on how this is advancing. Is it something that we should know for the short term?
They are. There are a handful of them that are advancing. They are advancing in different stages, I should say. we have, I think, all the coatings that we have delivered to these companies in these collaborations has been successful. There are discussions about increasing or deepening collaborations in certain projects, or adding projects within the same company, and so on and so forth. There are a few where there's more of a steady state, where there is a decision process within those companies. But clearly there are a few, at least, that are maybe not of the same size in potential as the Novo project, but clearly some of the projects that we work with could really be a really successful project or product going forward.
Great, thanks. And one last question. I wanted to ask you about your financial situation.
Yeah.
How does your cash position look like now, and for how long do you think you can be financed?
I mean, we were lucky with the Novo deal to get them into being one of our biggest shareholder. So that's very good. And we also got like 60 million Swedish crowns into our bank account in the beginning of this year. So that's good. That's really good. That said, of course, we're spending money as well. And so at some point we would need to fill the cash, of course. But what we have said is that we have cash that will last this year, absolutely, and into the first quarter next year. And the management and the board are looking at different possibilities, of course, but we feel confident that this will have funding also further on.
Great. David, thank you very much for being here with us today and for your nice presentation.
Thank you so much.